This show is part of the HeadStuff podcast network.
Lovely stuff.
Hey, lovely, lovely.
I tell you what, though, folks, that's bloody nice. That is bloody lovely.
Lovely Holland. Lovely touch. Lovely Holland. Lovely touch.
Well, hello, and you're very welcome to another episode of
The Lovely Show.
And you're looking lovely.
Oh, yeah, you're keeping well.
You smell amazing.
I am wearing, I know you're talking to the audience, but I am wearing, can you smell it on me there? I can't believe I'm making you smell my wrist. It's the last cherry. I got it.
It smells like silage.
Yeah, fancy silage. There's good silage and bad silage. If you have butric acid silage, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
If you have Butch Cassidy silage. What did you say?
I am not going to have a bad word said against the Cassidys. They're great farmers. Butric acid.
Oh, butric acid.
Butric.
Is that
I'm
when
probably
it gets
pronouncing wrong.
real hot?
It
starts fermenting.
Completely that, and it's wrong. It shouldn't. It has too much acid in it.
No, I just couldn't. I don't even recognize. I'm bad at recognizing smells.
So you will remember I was on a really long rant about smelling good, and lo and behold, didn't I get the Lost Cherry Tom Ford, the scent?
Oh my God. You
Yeah,
tracked down Tom.
as a gift.
As a present.
Yeah. Ooh. I tell you, it's not cheap. I wouldn't be out buying it for myself. It's about €280.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Is it from somebody romantic or an obsessed fan?
Somewhere in between the two, I'd say.
So now you're smelling like Ford. As opposed to a
Absolutely.
Ford tractor.
God, I'd take that as well, though. I love,
You love the
Jesus.
smell of
Before I
engine
went to
oil.
New Holland, we have all the old Fords at home. Class. Smell of green diesel.
I do whip out a Wang every so often. My wife got me Vera Wang.
Okay.
And that's real nice smelling.
Okay, I need to look at their section because I was in an airport again recently and I was at it again. I was just going through the aisles,
Yeah,
sniffing away.
smelling everything.
Yeah. See, you want to be careful where you say, I whipped out a Wang. But it is a wonderful line to have in the
It
back
is.
pocket.
Every
ready
time
to
I'm
go.
going out, Siobhan's like, are you wearing your Wang? And I says, I have the Wang on me. I have the Wang on me and I'm ready to boogie.
I was just, in reference to that, I was on a tour and there was a priest doing the tour, right? I can't go into details about this really.
What year was this?
It was this year,
All
right?
right.
Which is what makes it even funnier. But at the end of the tour, he had a gift he wanted to give the people on the tour. And he said, I have something in my pocket for you. It's wet. Now don't be afraid. And I was like, I cannot take seriously what's about to come out of your pocket. And I hope it's something, harmless. But do you have no concept of the words that have just come out of your mouth?
That's real Tobias Funke innuendos. I got something in my pocket for you and it's wet.
Don't be afraid. I'm like, well, I'm sure other people have been told that before
There's
and they had
very-
every reason to be afraid.
There's very few things that would be pleasant. Like that's a short list of like wet things in a priest's pocket.
Custard. Just loose custard for no
Loose
apparent
custard,
reason.
a fish, like a novelty sponge. What could that be? What was it?
It was a little handkerchief.
That's
Hang on, that's not the end of the
It's
sentence.
not good.
It's not good. Handkerchief that had been used to wipe down, there was a...
The Pope Mobile.
Kind of, not that, but a relic.
Okay.
That they have an annual ceremony every year where they
The many
wipe
wet
down
relics.
a relic.
Surely relics will be all dried out by this stage. They're always like, St. Francis's arm,
His elbow.
St. Columbus's arse. They'd all be dried up like an old prune at this stage.
Well, this is the outer casing that was used, and they put a special kind of scent on it. It smelled like cinnamon.
Okay.
Actually, it was nice. But
So what? Do you remember the relic?
of the patron saint of the town, and I can't get into the details of the town.
Oh my God, was it Pierce Brosnan?
He's alive, Kevin.
He's
very
still,
much
he's still the
alive and kicking.
patron saint of Navan, though.
This is, can you actually be a patron saint still alive? I actually don't know the ins and outs
Sure,
of that.
was Teresa made a patron saint while she was still
Still
alive?
alive.
I think he can.
Because I did
I think
a tour.
Pele is.
Is he?
I think so. Isn't it interesting? Somebody told me, this is totally false.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Pele was named after Immerch Pelle because there was loads of Irish over there, and some priests saw that he was very good, like as a young lad, and they were like, call him Pele after a Immerch Pelle because he's going to be good at football.
That's amazing.
I think that's one of the
so good.
worst made-up stories I've ever heard. Like, there's no way.
Of course not, but it is. But more so, I'd look into where the word Pella or Scailga came from. Is it actually, is there a
Did we
similar
name it after
word?
Pele?
Did we name Egemuch Pella after Pele? Maybe we're looking at this entirely the wrong way.
Very true.
Because there is actually an interesting one. The guy who was meant to be taken over as the new Liverpool manager actually did a stint playing football in Kells, County Meath as a young lad. And
Wow.
he did like a soccer camp and football there.
I have a story. So I have a story
Miss,
about a footballer. I was like,
Lobasuas,
if I
Kevin.
tell you who it's about, I would have given away the kind of punchline. But anyway, so my cousin's partner is from London, and he's of Indian descent, and he started going out with my cousin, and they were at a wedding, I think, in Glasgow. My granny was from Glasgow.
All right.
Yeah.
Just a bit of Scott in you.
Little bit of scat.
I like that.
So my cousin's there with her new partner, and he's barely met the mother-in-law. Like, he hasn't really met the
Yeah.
family much at all, and he's at a wedding, so he's a little bit nervous. And my auntie walks in, her mother, and looks across the table at my cousin's partner and says, she goes, who have we have? Oh, we have Jimmy here. We have Thomas, and how are you, Thomas, and Bridie? And she looks over and she goes, and my lovely little Packy. And his face, he was like, I didn't know how to react. He was like, what the fuck? Like, should I be getting mad here? Can't really get mad. So he didn't know what to do. And she walked over to him and walked past him to Packy Bonner, who was sitting beside him.
Hey!
Because Packy Bonner played football. Packy Bonner was from Glasgow, I think, and would have played football as a child on like my granny's street. So I didn't realise, my whole family knew
Packy
Packy Bonner
Bonner
really, really well. And my cousin's partner didn't realise that, like, first of all, that was a name a lot of Irish people have.
Oh God, that was
And
almost a crisis moment.
Yeah, it was almost a crisis. Of course, my auntie hadn't a clue.
Good Lord. See, that's lovely though. She didn't even realise.
She didn't even realise she was being a huge racist.
Yeah.
Well, it was accidental.
Completely.
Accidental
Completely.
racism.
Yeah, that's
The best form of
mad.
racism, in my opinion.
Oh no. Oh no. We're getting in too early where I nod the head and I don't say anything.
You were travelling.
I was. I'll tell you something about travelling, Kevin. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. When you go through the check-in,
Yeah.
can we make a universal decision? Do we take the plastic bag out with our liquids, or do we leave it in? Okay, because I'm sick of it. You go to some airports and they want you to take it out. You go to others, and sometimes I chance it and then I'm not taking it out.
Right.
I'm sure they don't say a
Don't bother
word.
their arse.
They don't say a word.
I thought you had to take it out.
There's other airports where I've tried to take it out and they've said to me, "Put that back in.
Oh, put that back in.
Put that back in.
Put that back in.
Should be saying that to the priest. Put that tissue back in your pocket."
I've got 100 ml liquid in this bag for you, baby. Have you ever gone through Knock Airport?
No.
Knock Airport's ridiculous.
Is it
man.
still running?
Yeah, I went through Knock Airport, and there's more security in Busaurus. It was just like a lad just waving you. Go on to fuck, go on. What have you got in you? Go on ahead. Like, it's so lackadaisy.
Where did you fly to?
I can't even remember. It was years ago. I was somewhere.
mad.
It
'Cause
was
there's
Dublin or somewhere like that.
Shannon shut, right?
I don't know.
I don't think that's running anymore, but there used to be an airport down there as well, because I always thought about going down to Kerry. There is an airport you can go to still in Kerry nearby, because it's only like half an hour.
It's madness.
But by the time you go through check-in and all that crack, is it about the same distance?
Yeah, well, as I said, it's the more rural you get, the more relaxed check-in is,
security is.
and there's like one lad working in the hold. There's one lad like serving you coffee
Running the
and then
whole
checking your
airport,
tickets,
jeez.
and then you get in the plane and
Runs
he's
from
got a
each
little hat
side.
on him. He's flying the fucking plane. So did you have a good time?
I did, but you know what threw me? When we were sitting on the flight, we were about to take off, the pilot came on, and his voice was very young.
Oh, okay.
And it kind of, I don't want to be ageist, but I was slightly unnerved.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And when we were, and I'm glad I didn't see this now. At the end, he was at the top of the plane and everyone was congratulating him. I think it might have been like one of his first flights.
Was he saying like, this flight's going to be lit, no cap?
The vibes in the air are going to be...
Drinking, there's going to be cans of Prime heading around.
But I'm so glad I didn't see him till the end, because if I'd have seen him at the start, I would have maybe thought about getting a different flight. I just was on edge about it.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want somebody with like a Rick and Morty tattoo flying
The
a
thing
plane.
is, you can
You
look
want a reliable man with like grey hair.
grey hair. He's done this before. He's seen it all.
I
in
have
the
female
skies.
I have female friends who would be nervous getting onto a flight with a female pilot.
Okay.
What do you think of that?
No, because I know I've my auntie, and through marriage, a relation of hers is a pilot, and she used to be a doctor,
Right.
and she's now a pilot. And I'm like, wow.
She sounds like an overachiever. I'd be annoyed if she lived beside my parents. Like, I'd fucking move.
Well, I wouldn't enjoy being in the family, because I'd be like, well, I'm never going to achieve
Did you
much.
see Teresa give up being the doctor and she's going to be a pilot now, Justine? How are you getting on?
But you know what?
Mommy, fuck off. I do not want to hear.
But you know what's mental? Imagine her flying a plane, and like someone has, a moment, an injury, and they're like, is there a doctor on board? And you're like, yes, she's flying the plane.
Stick it on autopilot.
No, but it'll come down to you now,
Put on
Mary.
the handbrake there and I'll be down to you in 2 minutes.
Lovely stuff.
Do you remember the story, was it Sully, the story of a lad who flew a plane and
Crashed.
he had to crash it, but didn't he fly it upside down?
Yeah.
And then, he flied upside down as a move. And then they were like, geez, you saved everybody's life. Fair play to you. And then he's like, look, I had a fucking couple of pints earlier on. And everyone got mad. But I was
Didn't
thinking...
he lost his job, like he got sued, I think.
Yeah, probably.
And
but I was thinking,
was
if
discredited.
the fact that he was half cut, did that give him the confidence to do a mad upside down move?
A loop-de-loop.
Like if he was sober, would he be like, no, I can't
couldn't
fly
pull it off.
upside down.
You think about it in comedy, right? If I have now, I rarely do it anymore. I could have one pint before I go on stage, but I even rarely do that because I'm afraid I'm going to knock something out of my head. But then there's other things that I'll go to, like live shows. Say you're doing a live podcast or you're a guest on something. I'll always have a pint or two because it does take the edge off, that I'm like a little more loose and more comfortable. There definitely is benefits to it. I'm not saying we're here encouraging
There's a film.
consumption, but
You know your man, I can't remember his name, is Mads something. He plays Hannibal in the TV show, Hannibal Lecter.
yes, I know who you're talking about.
You know the guy?
Yeah.
He's in a movie, I think it's called Another Round, and he plays a teacher where he follows a study where if you keep a level of drunk constantly, I think it's basically 1.5 pints every 3 hours or something,
Right.
then your life will be much more improved. So he spends the whole film just like not getting drunk,
yeah,
but just having
on
a
that level.
base level of half cut.
Bailey's on the cornflakes in the morning.
Yeah. So I think there's something in that.
Well, look at the woman who's 105 and said, they were like asking her life advice, and she said, Guinness every day and stay away from men.
Did you look at her and think, oh my
It's
God,
me
is
in
that
the
me?
future.
Is that me from
I
the
ha-
future? Come back to give me advice.
Kevin, I can't tell you how many people sent that to me, being like, is this you in
Is
the
this
future?
you?
So I was like, I wouldn't have stumbled across that, only it was sent to me so many times.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, there's a trend here. But look at, you see that guy, like there's people even I know at home who are not drinking to excess, but they would have the few pints.
They have a base level.
And they're
of
in the best of
half-cutness.
health. And I'm talking
Yeah.
about lads in their 60s, 70s. And you see that. Now, that happens all the time, but you hear people that then end up developing like liver disease and they never drank a day in their life.
Yeah.
That happens.
Take the chance.
I'd rather if I ended up with liver disease, know that, God, if I ended up with liver disease, God forbid, touch wood, but I'd like to
I don't
know.
think that table's real wood.
Anyway, I'd rather have had the few pints than, wouldn't it be, I'd feel like, well, what was the point that I spent my whole life not having a drink and I ended up with this anyway?
Yeah, no, I'd definitely be in the same camp as that. You hear of like runners, people who like live their whole life, never smoked, never drank, and then they just die of a heart attack out jogging.
Serious runners and people into exercise, they oftentimes drop, or
Yeah.
they have a serious injury
They're
or
caught dead.
heart.
They're caught dead.
I don't take the risk, Kevin. This is why I'm not into exercise. At what cost?
Yeah, my my brother's big into fitness, lifts weights and all this, like
Right.
takes good care of his body. And I was in the house and I was like looking at his weights, and I was like, "Come here, what's the crack with these weights? Like, you know, like how many of these would you lift?" And he's like telling me his whole regime, and I just went to lift one of them up, and my mother was like, Kevin, no. I was like, what? And she was like, put that down. Like you don't need to be getting into weights. Just go for a nice walk every so often.
That's my
I was like,
mother's.
I'm not fucking 78.
That's my mother's logic every day. She's like, I got the walk in.
Yeah.
That's the logic. But they're not wrong. Walking is the best form of exercise for you.
It's very boring.
It is, but put a few tunes in your head and you'll be all right.
Do you notice I have a mustache?
Kevin, I didn't want to point it out. But the second I walked in and up the stairs earlier, I was like, well, that wasn't here the last time.
No. Do you know why I think it is?
For the winter?
No.
Ron Burgundy lookalike competition?
No.
Okay.
I was watching the
Tom
Rivals.
Selleck. I need to get into this.
I was watching the Rivals, and Aidan Turner is sporting a good mustache with like a bit of stubble and a mustache and like slick back hair, and he looks class. And I was like, I'm getting the mustache back again.
Well, Kevin, I don't want to cause any, chaos, but there's been some messages in my DMs when I post about the Love Podcast. People being like, "Who's that cutie?"
Who?
And they're not referring to me.
Maybe they're referring to the guard, the
Or
hamhead
Steve
guard.
Martin. I hope so. I can only dream that they are.
You should watch the Rivals. It's great.
I'm
crack.
going to,
We
I'm
watched
going to
all
give it a go.
because it's fairly, because I don't know if you remember, like Jilly Cooper books would have been in every house in Ireland. Like they're just sort of, you buy a house and
it comes with them. Yeah, it's like the Bible in the hotel drawer.
And even conservative Catholic grannies, like my granny was very conservative and very Catholic. And there's these books lying around I saw as a young lad, and they're like a hand on a woman's arse, or a riding crop on a woman's arse, or like a glass of champagne beside a woman's arse. And they were very steamy, but they're apparently like the show is so funny, as well as being very
David
raunchy.
Tennant is in it, isn't he? Yeah.
Apparently, I remember reading somewhere, somebody said about the Brits. The Brits are the only people who can laugh and masturbate at the same time.
Right. That's a fun fact.
But do you remember there was a load of comedies in the 70s called like Confessions of a Window Cleaner, Confessions of a Driving Instructor.
Oh.
And they're always about like this gormless looking young lad who looks like Mick Jagger, and he just keeps getting into sexy adventures.
Right.
And
Are they all based off of Jilly's books?
No.
Oh.
But I was to reiterate my point of Brits like French people can do sex films.
Yeah.
Or Swedes can do sex films. Brits, they couldn't just bring themselves to just watch a film about sex. So it has to be a comedy.
Okay.
So you need to have a few laughs.
Where
Hence,
I think
laughing with an erection.
they can laugh and wank, whereas in Ireland I think we wank and cry.
We wank and cry. Or wank and pray.
Lovely stuff.
This show is part of HeadStuff Podcasts. Here's another show you might like.
Hello, everybody. She's Emma Dorn. She's Deirdre. Okay, now sorry to disturb you. We know you're listening to something else, but we wanted to tell you very quickly about
Stop listening to that and listen to us.
after the fact.
Sorry,
Keep it
when
tight.
you're finished listening to
Yes.
that, listen to us.
Yes, we'd love for you to come join us. Our podcast is called Keep It Tight.
Keep it tight.
Keep it tight. Have a look at headstuffpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts. We nearly have how many downloads, Deirdre?
Nearly a million.
So people are enjoying it. Get on board.
Be one of the millions.
So what's the thing at the moment? Is it body maxing?
Yes. That pilot who flew the plane might have been able to explain that to me. It's a very new term with all the cool
So
kids.
I think body maxing is just like doing the absolute most you can do to improve how you look.
It's a joke. We're all fucked.
And like young men are, they're moisturizing 10 times a day. They're lifting weights constantly. They're taking supplements. They're getting like plastic surgery in their 20s. And Jesus, I just feel.
Thank God we
feel
didn't
like
grow up
I
then.
feel like I grew up in like the Stone
right
Age.
time. But this
like
is
we
yeah.
looked like shit. But if you look back, we looked gorgeous because we were young.
completely.
Thing is, everyone's pretty much good looking when they're young.
There's a new term coming into effect now about aging on people, whereby we're reaching a point in pop culture where you can't actually put the age on anyone because people are getting so much work done that
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
actually indistinguishable what age they actually are.
But also, speaking as a woman,
yeah.
if you met a lad who had a better beauty regime than you, I don't think you'd be turned on by it, would you?
I wouldn't. I don't moisturise, Kevin. I'm going to say that now because anytime I try to, I break out in the worst acne, and I've never my whole life. And I actually spoke to someone who's does like skincare things about the whole thing because I tried doing retinol. That just made hairs grow on my face. And I was like, I'm trying to go for the opposite here. But she said that there are certain skin types, and majority of the time, think back to the Stone Ages, we did not have moisturiser on hand or CeraVe available. And I just don't know why people pay so much into this thing.
But also, like, I think it's like if you're a girl and you're going out with some lad and he's like getting unnecessary surgery and lip fillers and stuff, you end up looking like some sort of like Siamese cat.
I know it's not
sexy.
But I look and I
think women essentially want a lad
who's
it doesn't
a bit rugged,
rough, eats half decent and does a bit of exercise, but that's it.
Yeah, no, and completely that. I have no interest in a lad with a six pack.
What did Sinead Twain say about a lad who carries a mirror in his pocket, a comb up his sleeve just in case?
It don't impress her much.
It does not impress her one bit, Justine.
Not
that woman
a little bit.
is very hard impressed.
But you see celebrities, you know, when you're like on a red carpet or you're on the fucking bill on the other side of the red carpet looking at them. For me, anyway. I look at them and I think, well, you're pristine looking, but it's not real. I'm like, I don't want that. I'd be afraid to touch it because I'm going to damage that lovely face. I don't want that. I don't want a lad with a six pack. It's when I used to be on the apps and I'd see a lad with a six pack, instant swipe left because this lad's more concerned about how he looks. I'm never going to be as important to him, but also I'm going to look like shite in comparison and insecure.
You want a lad with a keg.
A bit soft, like. You want someone that when you hug them, it's like a nice pillowy feeling, not someone that makes you feel like...
Somebody with a receding hairline, and he says, it's not a receding hairline, it's a solar panel for a sex machine. I worked with a lad who used to say that in the factory. I'm not going bald, it's a solar panel for a sex machine, so it is.
And come here, is he single?
He's dead now, actually.
Okay, no, I don't want someone like that. That's way too far.
He was going too far the other end.
Yeah, yes. But like, I mean,
he was doing chipper every night.
No, I don't want that. Like, yeah, someone who knows how to roughly take care of themselves will have a few pints. Because I remember seeing someone before who was too concerned about, the fitness that he couldn't have a pint. And I was like, well, I enjoy a pint. Not to insane levels, but
you enjoy a pint as much as the next alcoholic.
Kevin, I don't want this put out there. That is not the case. We're all having a laugh. But
by the way, thank you very much for Re-Raw for sending us a big crate of beer. We will put that to good use.
Yeah, we will. Responsibly, of course.
We'll do it. We'll drink responsibly.
But no, I just wouldn't have. And I mean, I went through awful securities. I still do. It's a constant. And there's always new things developed to make you feel insecure about things that never were something that existed to be insecure about previously. But I considered getting like a boob job before, and I was like, do you know what? I couldn't be arsed.
No.
And I always will be horrifically insecure about it, and especially when people troll me online saying I have no tits, and I'm like, yeah, I'm aware.
So who'd be saying this? Lads
There's literally one
or
specific.
girls?
I'm going to say man, although they have no image on their profile. But I'm going to take a guess.
Ooh, has he got a picture of a lake or a field or the map of Ireland or an English football club?
It's just grey. You know, the one where you just have the silhouette
What
thing.
a personality.
Yeah, totally. Whenever I'll post something, I'll just get still no tits, which I love the still. That's what gets me. It's a still no tits. When is she going to get them? I'm like, man,
When is this girl going to hit 16?
I know, I've gone through puberty and clearly it didn't take enough of a toll on me because it's back and I have horrible acne at the minute and I have a sticker on my face trying to hide it. But it didn't come back with the good aspects of puberty. I never got those. I got the raw deal.
God, but I'd say I'd love to get a look at this lad. Just to see,
I know.
Just to see how beautiful a man this man is.
It's probably Leonardo DiCaprio, actually, I would say. But see, you're lucky. You have a lovely head of hair. I do really feel for men who have just that gene, because it's a huge thing.
It's the one thing you can't really go to the gym for, I suppose.
No, you can't. And like, Jesus, sure, I know fellas when I was 20 just had to shave the head, and that's sad. And don't get me wrong, women have literally as much insecurities.
But there's very few baldies nowadays.
Right.
Think about all the baldy actors there used to be.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis.
Vin Diesel.
Yul Brynner, all them boys. There's no bald actors anymore.
I know, because that's the thing. Sure, you can even see it from The Office, season 1 to season 2, Steve Carell.
Yeah. The Thatch.
God.
The Thatch was getting very.
I wouldn't mind his doctor now.
Yeah. The Thatch was very light on the first season, and then he came back and he had an afro. Like, yeah.
Oh, but God, it suits him though. But like, it's hair is everything, unfortunately.
Yeah.
As Fleabag taught me.
Did you see? I don't know if you know the comedian Tony Hinchcliffe.
Yeah.
Did you see him at the Trump rally in Madison Square Garden?
No.
So Trump had a big rally in Madison Square Garden, and he had just a load of lunatics. But Tony Hinchcliffe, who's a roast comedian, was one of the early speakers, and it did not go down well.
Oh.
One of his jokes was he referred to, like, he said there's a floating island of garbage off the coast of America, and it's called Puerto Rico. Jesus. And Puerto Rico is actually part of the United States, you know.
Oh, mother of God.
So a lot of Puerto Ricans will vote in the election, and it didn't even go down well in the rally.
Yeah,
you know?
that's pretty telling.
So everyone kind of went mad. A load of Puerto Ricans are like, well, fuck this. I'm not voting for Trump if this is something that's okay. It was literally, they can't really distance themselves from it because it was on the teleprompter. Like, they knew the jokes he was going to do. But I was like, is there a chance, Tony, the joke is so bad, is there a chance that he did it on purpose to bomb the Trump campaign?
Because is he a Republican? Has he?
I don't think it's known, but like he does a show called Kill Tony,
yeah.
And he was on the Tom Brady roast, and he was excellent. And like, you know, in the roasts, like, I'm not against edgy humor.
Yeah, totally.
And
like,
like, even
roast.
like, I think you can literally joke about anything if it's good enough. And like, he did jokes. There's obviously roast jokes that are, you know,
they're vicious.
You wouldn't do
you,
in a normal comedy
outside
club.
of
Like,
that,
some of them are just pure racist or misogynistic or whatever. But if you're clever enough, I think you can get away with it. And he had some really clever racist jokes on Tom Brady. But this was just like unfunny, no joke racism.
So yeah, maybe it was a deliberate attempt, because I did see a tweet that said that's why it's called Kill Tony and not Tony Killed, which I enjoyed.
But how hilarious would it be if a joke changed the course of history?
Comedy is finally getting the power.
Lovely stuff.
I read today that since P. Diddy has been accused of awful crimes, his Spotify listens have gone up by 18%.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
And apparently the same thing happened with Chris Brown.
Oh, no.
What the fuck is that about?
This sends the wrong message to people. They're going to get ideas like, maybe I just need to get a little bit cancelled.
Maybe I just need to half cancel.
Just a little bit of a scandal. Nothing crazy.
I think a lot of it is to do with people. I don't think it's like you hear about these awful crimes. You're like, God, I must listen to P. Diddy again. I think a lot of it's down to people going like, I must listen in to see if he left like
Any clues? Any
clues in the lyrics.
But that's people mad about true crime docs now. They all think they can solve the crime.
Everyone thinks they're a detective.
Everyone thinks they're a detective.
If you had a true crime podcast, what would your subject be? It doesn't have to be a bad crime. It could be something very minor.
Well, this is very, very minor. Vivendi took over from Naughty Dog producing the Crash Bandicoot video games, all right? And they ruined it. They changed the graphics. He was no longer the Crash Bandicoot I fell in love with. And I want to know why. Because Naughty Dog still had access and created a lot of other successful video games. So why did you let go of Crash?
Crash was the main boy.
He was.
So let me see how Crash evolved in your eyes.
Now we have the first 3 games. After Warped, the third one, is when Vivendi took over. I want to say Vivendi took over even from Crash Bash, which was a 4-player game. More like a thing you could play with friends. It wasn't really about achieving a goal in the game. You know what I mean?
It was a 4-player game.
It was a 4-player game.
Oh, 4-player.
What did you
I think you said a 4-player game. that you could
Well,
do
I mean,
with
for
friends.
me, yeah.
So that's what the new Crash
Yeah.
Bandicoot looks like
Ah,
now.
stop
Now,
it.
to be honest, I don't see much difference between, I suppose, well, he always had big old shoulders
Do
on
you
him.
know what it is, Kevin? It's exactly what we're talking about. He was rugged, and they've bloody maxed him.
So there's the difference
Yeah.
between them. So
They maxed him out.
1996 Crash.
He's rugged. He's raw. He's
He
not
was rugged.
moisturising.
Yes, that's right. He looked dirty. He looks
Yeah.
like a lad you'd see at a festival. He's got his shirt off, big old pair of
Yeah.
runners.
He's the
And
cum gutters on display.
he has the cum gutters on display. Whereas the new Crash has a softer face.
Yeah, streamlined.
He's more Disney-ish.
Totally that.
Yeah, like the original Crash looks fucking mental. Look at him there.
He's perfect. There's a wildness in those eyes.
There was a wildness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll try and tame them.
He looks like he's trying to hide that he's on drugs.
He's not doing a great job. I love him. That would be what I would investigate. I
Okay.
don't know. Also, why they discontinued Mars Delight.
Oh my God, yeah.
I need answers.
Yeah.
Because you can't put it down to there wasn't interest, there weren't sales. There was all of those things. Why would you take off the market one of your best performing bars other than the fact there was something illegal in it?
Oh. That's a big
There has to-
accusation.
Allegedly, possibly. I'm just surmising. I have no insights here.
So you think there was some sort of maybe a drug or a chemical
Possibly.
that produced a dizzying high
Of a Mars Delight.
whenever you ate a Mars Delight? Even if you brought out, sometimes you have seasonal chocolates that come out once a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, they do a flake one at Christmas that's white chocolate.
Yeah, and you appreciate it more.
Totally.
You go out and you rush, you buy it. Oh my God, it's white flake day.
Back. Yeah.
It's snowflake day.
Like, it's the cream egg. Other than the fact you don't want to burst anyone's bubble, but you can get a cream egg all year round. But people go wild for them at Easter.
Yeah, they do go well for them at Easter, yeah.
But I need answers to that. Why did the fat frog go? Now, they brought back the funky foot.
The drink or
feet.
the ice cream?
Ice cream.
Okay.
The fat frog drink, I was all right letting go.
Yeah. That
was
didn't
just an
really
amalgamation
didn't
of
bring a lot
things.
to the culture.
No.
Fat frog, the freaky foot though doesn't taste as nice as it used to
No, completely not. They did this with refreshers before as well. They changed the recipe and they took out all the E numbers because that's where the flavour
be. That's
was.
what the flavour was. I was a big fan of Dan Bar, which looked.
Oh, class.
It was like fluorescent
Yellow.
orange
Yeah.
with bits of
Little-
tar.
Yeah.
Like black bits of tar.
I remember it well. You're
And-
talking to a fat child here.
Well, a former fat child.
Poor fat child. Yeah.
Yeah, do miss the old Dan Bars.
They were great.
You could.
Tom and Jerry cigarettes.
Oh,
Unbelievable. The chalky ones. Like, okay, I understand why that had to go.
Why though?
Because they don't want to encourage children to be smoking. So instead, they developed vapes.
I don't think though any child munching away on
No,
Tom and Jerry cigarette
No.
is going like, do you know what? I'm going to try smoking fags.
This is the thing. You wouldn't. Not a hope in hell. I loved them and I never touched a cigarette as a child. But I would look. Yeah, that's what my true crime. I'm not sure if there is a crime involved really at the end of it. Maybe that's what we discovered.
I mean, I think this is what you need to investigate.
Yeah, they were the big ones now that went. Mars Delight, Fat Frog. Those, yeah, some of those bars, they were class. There used to be this class. I don't know if you remember, Kevin, because it was only around very briefly when I was a child, and then it was cut. This Coca-Cola ice cream. And it was like an ice pop in the shape of a rocket. And my God, even though people share old posters of HB ice creams,
Yeah.
it wasn't even on that. That's
This
how limited
was
this
this
thing was.
under the counter? Like you had to ask.
No, they had it, but it
It's like the
was...
shopkeeper's like, wait until it closes at 6 o'clock.
come back to
Meet me around the back of the shop. I'll get you what you want.
It was...
But you have to do something for me.
Tell no one. It was phenomenal. And there used to be a Mickey Mouse cola and coconut ice cream as well that you'd buy in a big slab. Yeah, I can see why now I was in very big clothes as a child. But that's what I'd investigate. What would you investigate, Kevin?
Gosh, I don't know. Whatever happened to Podge and Rog?
Oh, that's a great one.
Where are they now? I'd like to see a Menendez brothers film starring Podge and Rog.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be a
I want
very...
an all puppet,
True
the trial
crime.
of the Menendez brothers with Podge and Rog. Don't change the accents. Keep the accents. Dustin could be a judge. I think Dustin would make a good judge.
that would be great. Yeah, instead of the hammer, you could just do the flap flaps.
Do the flap flaps. Please, everybody, come in the courtroom.
Saki.
I think Saki would be a good public
Eyewitness.
defender.
Oh yeah, true.
He'd be a good defender.
Yeah.
Also, I'd like to investigate just where Saki came from because I remember Saki emerging. I remember the birth of Saki. So Saki came from
A planet, was it?
nope. Saki came literally from a load of dirty old socks that came about on the den. He was a monster made out of socks. Now,
Did he
Ray
spawn?
Darcy was a young man at the time.
He was.
And, young men, very active, hormones.
Oh, I see where you're going here now.
And, sometimes...
Allegedly. Can we just say allegedly?
Allegedly. I'm just saying about young men of the time. And sometimes young men, they have to find comfort or solace.
Release.
Release, in fact. And sometimes an old sock can, really help you out. Is Saki a sort of a genetic amalgamation of a young Ray Darcy and a pile of old smelly socks?
See, the innocent brain in me went to, maybe it's a verruca that spawned and grew. But you
Right.
went a very different route.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about DNA. I'm talking about the building blocks of life. Justine.
Yeah, you're bringing science into
Bringing
it,
some
really.
science into it, really.
Lovely stuff.
We are finally reaching the end of spooky season.
Thank God.
I
I'm
mean,
sorry, but they've dragged it out so long now.
Oh, I've definitely dragged out. I think I've been talking about Halloween like 3 episodes in a row.
But like, what else? It's all around you.
I love it.
Today is the first day now in the shops that I saw the switch. It's all Christmas. I mean, Halloween is tomorrow, and they're still putting out now the Christmas bits, and I'm like, Jesus, let spooky season have its moment.
Will you let the spooky season just fade away before you go into the festive season?
I did see the best costume I did see come up was a woman dressed as a cowboy, but she had all her clothes on backwards. She was reverse cowgirl.
Oh, that's good.
I love that level of pun. It's so simple. It's genius.
Have you got your costume ready?
I don't know if I'm going to be able to do anything because I'm on a very hectic schedule at the minute.
Right.
But the costume I had 2 that I had in mind. And there was one that I designed it up and it was Barry Keoghan, his penis in the grave. And I was dressed as a priest. So I did that one up. I had a little shoebox I made into a grave, filled it with coffee. And
Hold on, slow down.
Yeah, okay, yeah. There's a lot of layers
Barry
here.
Keown's penis in a grave. You're dressed as a priest.
Yeah, I'll show you it. But there was a lot of layers to it, and it was more the props as opposed to the physical costume. The physical costume I want to do, but I might have an event on Thursday night to go to with it, but I just don't think I'm going to have time to make it. It's simple, but maybe it'll make sense to you. Do you remember the Carlton movie
Logo.
screen logo? Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to make a big poster of that and wear it because nothing was more traumatizing to me
Yeah.
as a child than
And
that.
the Carlton movie poster thing.
When my mum would tell us we're going to the cinema, I'd be like, no, I don't want to go to the cinema because that's screen, and I'd be waiting for it. The fun Disney film trailers would be on, and I'd be like, no, it's coming. And then that man in the background, he looked like a devil. Someone told me he was just a.
Oh yeah, because he was forging.
He was holding the
He was forging it, and then he slams it at your face.
Yeah.
Burning your face.
The level of noise that they put in that ad, I was like, this is unnecessary.
Yeah, that's too much.
But that's what I would go as because I think that is one of the most scary.
I'm still reversed
scary,
there
yeah.
to Barry Keown's penis.
Yeah, I'll give you now.
I just don't know how you'd portray his penis in a grave. Are you the grave?
See,
Are you the
if I'd have
penis?
had more time, I would have built the grave as my head. But I didn't have the time, so I said, right, I'll be the priest who's just looking on, shocked at the whole scene.
Oh, yeah, but there's no priest in the film.
There's the actual grave I built, and if you go to
Okay.
the right, you'll see.
This just looks like a cock in a shoebox.
It's my dick in a box. I mean, it's pretty much what it is.
I mean, so just to describe it to the viewer, I'm sure we'll put up the image. This is Justine as a horrified priest saluting. For some reason, she's saluting this cardboard box with a tiny gravestone and then a cock and some flowers. It looks like some sort of political statement of like the death of manhood. It's like a priest lamenting the death of
I-
a cock.
Didn't have any time, Kevin. Halloween is normally my time to shine, and I just did. Also, I put that together in 20 minutes. I just
No,
want to
it's
say.
it's impressive.
That's really good for 20 minutes.
It is good. It is good. It is good. It's
If I
just
da- but
it's a strange costume. It's not clear what it is.
I know, but if I'd had more time, I would have been the headstone. I would have built the cardboard around my head. So I'm the headstone. So the grave would have been this bigger box that came out as me.
Here's an idea.
Yeah.
You dress up, you're the grave.
Yeah.
So your head is the headstone.
Yeah.
Get a cardboard headstone, put your head through it.
Exactly
Right,
that.
R.I.P., whatever
Yeah.
your man's name was.
Yeah, Alex.
Dress yourself as like dirt,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just have a little naked action man on top of your chest.
Yeah.
That, I think people would go, oh.
That's what I was
naked
going-
man fucking a grave, Barry Keoghan.
That's what I was going for. But I didn't have the time.
So you just did some
I did
sort
a
of
half-hour
cock
job.
salad. It just looks like you've got a cardboard box full of cock salad. And you're saluting it. Why are you saluting it like you're a soldier?
It was meant to be like, oh my God, I'm recoiling. Because fair play to him, in fairness now. Like, he improv that scene. Fair play to him.
Yeah, I mean, you've done stuff for TV.
I have done stuff for TV.
And like sometimes like on take 3 or 4, you might say to the director, it's like, hey, can I
Try
can
some.
we try something here?
Yeah.
Can you imagine the bravery it would take
Yeah, no, not a
to
whole
say, oh yeah, Barry, you want another go at it?
Yeah.
I think we got it in the bag, but for shits and giggles,
Yeah, you do your
you
thing.
got a funny line, do you?
You do
Just
your thing.
Takes down his pants.
But also with a crew.
just
With
rides.
a crew around.
Yeah, the crew were around.
That's
100%.
what I'm saying. The confidence to do that. I'm like, man.
Was that okay? Was that all right?
Did we get it? Can we do it again?
So I can do another. No, you're actually grand. I think that's actually, yeah, that's lunch actually.
Yeah.
That's lunch. Thanks for
Cock
that, Barry.
salad for lunch. Justine has brought it. Yeah, look, I didn't have the time, and it's upsetting because Halloween is always one I go all out for.
That's your big time.
It is, and I just have not had the time this year, and it's sad. I get sad about it. So I'm actually glad spooky season's coming to an end because I didn't get to do it.
I'm very, very sad.
Did you do it?
No.
Are your kids going trick or treating?
Yeah, they're going to go trick or treating. So I was thinking like the only thing in the house I have is I've basically got a cowboy costume. Mm-hmm. So I'll probably just go as a zombie cowboy.
Lovely.
It's simple.
Yeah.
Stick it on. Kids
That's
are happy.
great.
I'm comfortable. I get to wear a cowboy outfit.
You're in your hat.
I'm in my element.
Yeah. And you've got the mustache for it now as well.
And I got the tash.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
There you are.
So that's probably it.
Yeah. Are you a fan of Christmas?
I love the lead up to Christmas. I love
In December.
I love the anticipation of Christmas, and then I find when it's arrived, it's always it's kind of
Oh, it's a
come down.
letdown.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do, like, I'm hoping now. A girl can dream, but I'm hoping for like a romantic date at some point in the
On
next 2
Christmas?
months. Not on Christmas,
Alright.
but in the lights at night, and you're in
Oh,
big
yeah.
coats.
Yeah, I do
And
like
you might
that.
get mulled wine or something.
Ooh, that's good.
I'm getting ahead of myself, but I would love that.
I mean, it does sound like you're making a desperate plea out to listeners. I'd love that. I'd love that. If there's anyone out there.
All I have is my imagination, Kevin. It's all I've got left. It's all I have.
All I have is my imagination.
Honestly, and then I watch Christmas romantic films. I'm like, oh my God, my life will never
I'm in
be
a
like Hugh
Christmas
Grant's.
romantic film.
You are. I was actually talking to someone on a set the other day about Hallmark films, and I was like, he worked on one. I was like, did you meet my friend Kevin? He did a different one. They did one recently in Slane Castle.
Right. They're all identical. Like every Hallmark Christmas film is like Lauren's a New York gal working in the publishing industry. And then she travels to dear old Ireland to get away from her perfect but not quite right fiance.
Yeah.
And then she falls in love with a prince who owns a castle. But in Ireland, we don't have royalty, so we have lords. So it was like a Lord Fennington of Trim Castle, and falls in love with the Lord, even though he's a bit rough around the edges. He wears a jumper. And then she falls in love with him, And then like the fiance comes over and there's trouble.
Trouble in
And
paradise.
then she ends up with your man. So I was in one called Christmas at Castle Heart.
Oh, stop!
Yeah.
Castle Heart.
Because your man's name was Hart.
Oh, Jesus. God.
So-
pay rise for the writers there now.
So you won the girl in it who was absolutely lovely.
Ah, yeah.
She was in Mean Girls.
No way.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
And your character was...
My character was like, I was like, oh God. There was the lady of the manor and I was her son.
Okay.
And I was the love interest of the main character's friend.
Oh.
So the lady, her name, is an actress played by Kate O'Toole, who's Peter O'Toole's daughter.
Oh, right.
Yeah, like fucking Lawrence of Arabia.
My Lord.
And I had such fun with her. She had amazing stories. Like she was in New York in the 80s and she like went out with Bill Murray's brother and was hanging out with the SNL crew in the 80s.
Unreal.
And just had a whale of a time. Loads of stories. She told me about like doing acid with Quentin Tarantino in fucking Drummond like in 1992. Crazy stuff.
Unreal.
Amazing stories out of this woman. And I just had so much time for her. And we had about 4 hours to spare between my last shot. My last shot was in the evening time. We had like 4 hours to kill. And she was like, Kevin, do you fancy exploring the grounds? And I was like, yeah, I'd love a drink. So we went into the sort of bar, and it was like a gentleman's club in the hotel. It was really fancy. It's really fancy. There's like deer's heads on the wall and stuff. And we're all in our like costume basically, you know. So we order 2 Bloody Marys. They go down real easy. We order 2 more. And then I order like an old fashioned, and your man's like, oh, if you like old fashioned, the waiter's like, you'd love this one called the Hanged Man. And I was like, all right, this sounds good. I'll get the Hanged Man. It's got whiskey in it. So I order it. It comes out, and there's like a tray of mad shit on the tray.
Oh, Jesus.
It's in a dome of smoke.
They lift the... it's
like a fishbowl full of smoke.
That's not going to be cheap, Kevin.
There's a fig. There's a tiny bit of chocolate. There's like a twig from a branch from Nazareth. And it's just very fancy. And I was like, ooh. So I'm drinking it, and it's grand. You know, it's nice. And he comes over and he's like, are you enjoying the Hanged Man? And I was like, yeah, it's lovely. And he goes, yes, it's made with our most expensive whiskey.
Oh, no.
And I was like, huh. I was like, that's interesting. And I was like, I wonder how much their expensive whiskey is. I go to the bathroom, I come back, and the bill is there. The Hanged Man cost €88. I was like, I just drank an €88 cocktail. The whole bill was like €400 for the 2 of us. We had like 6 drinks. It's like €400. I call him over. I'm like, lad, what's going on with this? And he's like, is there a problem? And I was like, yeah. I was like, that drink you recommended cost €88. And he said, yes. And I was like, there's no prices on the menu. And he's like, oh, there's a QR code and you scan. And there was a man who does that. I was like, you can't recommend a drink and not say, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, well, I thought it would be uncouth to mention the price. And I was like, what are we going to do? And he's like, I was like, yeah, like you have to take something off the bill. Yeah. And he said, I can take my service charge off. And I was like,
oh my God.
Is your service charge €60? Yeah. So we just split it anyway. And then I realized after we were dressed in our film costume. We were literally dressed
fancy.
like royalty.
Yeah.
So of course he wasn't going to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got such a shock.
Oh, Jesus.
And then we did the scene. I was well cut. But she had all. I had no dialogue. I was just in the background looking shocked, which worked. But she absolutely nailed her dialogue. I was so impressed by her. Just like so good.
A pure professional.
What a pro.
I love to see it.
Yeah.
That's incredible. But see, do you know what even would upset me more? The fact that I paid that much for a drink, say a really expensive whiskey, and I had to have it with all this other shit in it. If I paid that much for an expensive whiskey, I want to taste just it on its own.
Yeah, take out all this other
Take all this. Yeah. Why is there a fucking
a fig
plum floating around in it? Like, yeah, no, entirely that. That's where I really feel cheated as well.
Yeah. You'd be fucking raging, Justine.
I would have been, yeah.
Do you know what? Take that fig and give me more fucking whiskey.
I don't mind a fig now. I like a fig, but... Yeah. Well, Kevin, I've had a great time seeing you. It's been a long time since I have.
It's been a long time. It's been too long.
It's been a long time without you, my friend.
I know.
And I'll tell you all about it when I see you
again. And we'll tell you all about it when we see you again.
When you hear us.
Thank you for all your lovely messages. Keep them coming.
Yes, I got a lovely message, Kevin. You probably know who this is from. We were informed, or I was, someone listened to our podcast while giving birth. They were in labour and listened to the lovely show.
Oh, I hope you named the child after one of us.
I hope their first words are the lovely show. In a really thick Cavan or Meath accent. Yeah, they had like a list of songs lined up and they found them too overstimulating and then put on the lovely show instead.
Well, that's one
Isn't
thing.
that amazing?
It's one thing we never claimed to be as stimulating.
But we're tapping into a whole new audience here, the unborn.
The unborn. And we've got one brand new listener.
We've got one brand new listener.
I hope that baby gives us a really good 5-star review.
Came
on
out
Spotify.
with a set of headphones on them.
Well, that's a lovely story.
There you
for
go.
the
And
end of the lovely show.
and again, thank you for all the lovely messages we get. And that one really stood out to me and it was so lovely. So thank you.
And if you've any questions or looking for any advice, send them on.
Absolutely. We'll help you out. Don't ask him to buy you a drink because you'll pay good money for it.
Yes, please don't ask me for a drink. Okay, thanks very much, folks. We'll see you all again soon.
Good luck.
This show is part of the HeadStuff Podcast Network, a hub for the creative and the curious. Shows are produced in association with HeadStuff and the Podcast Studios Dublin. Find out more or become a member at headstuffpodcasts.com.